Good morning, YouTube family. Happy crappy hour to you guys. Happy Thursday. I'm going to talk about some crazy stuff today because I've been reading and listening, and something occurred to me about, why we stay in toxic relationships or in a toxic environment. And yeah, there's some really amazing examples in my life recently where I had to ask myself, if this person wanted to come back into my life, how would I react to it? And so I have a few tips for you guys, but let's start with the happy crappy hour part, which is where we talk about what's happy and what's crappy, what happened that was good this week, what happened that was not, and we learn from that to keep doing what was good and to stop doing what was bad. So welcome, you guys. I'm going to give you guys a few seconds here to hop on. And while you're hopping on, let me tell you about, hey, I want to tell you about my happies and crappies. But Gamer Christina, good to see you. Says, yay, I made it to the beginning of the live stream. Yay, yes, you did. I'm so glad you're here. And John, good to see you. Says, good morning. So awesome, you guys. I'm glad you're here. Yeah, so I wanted to talk about what this title is about, for today's discussion. Now, of course, we can talk whatever else about whatever else is on your mind and whatever you're going through right now. I'd love to answer any questions and explore what's going on. Oh, my volume? I don't know. Hold on. I don't know. Is there something wrong with the volume? I think it's up. It's really low. I'm not sure why that is. Well, let me see if I can change something here. Oh, I have an idea. I'm going to see if I can change. Okay, I'm back. I'm not sure what happened there. Oh, you guys, let me make sure that my ringers, though. Okay, are you guys able to hear me? Okay, great. Thank you. Okay. So, yeah, I wanted to talk about why we stay in these toxic relationships because it just happened to another friend of mine this week. And last week I had been thinking about it as well. One of the things you want to do is prepare. You need to prepare a response. If a toxic person that you have escaped and you've gotten out of their grips, you've ended the relationship, you've moved on, you've made new friends, you have a new partner, whatever you're doing in your life, you're finally happy. And then suddenly, out of the blue, someone from your past that you had cut off comes back in and says, hey, can we be friends again? I've been thinking about you, I still care about you. A lot of times, if you don't prepare for that scenario, you're likely going to think, oh yeah, of course I'll let you back into my life, look at that. And then they apologize, they may even be coming back with tons of apologies. I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to treat you that way, I know better now, I took you for granted, I really see what I messed up on, and I'm so sorry. And they come to you, so you feel obligated, actually, right? You feel obligated to take them back. Because if you're a good person, you're supposed to forgive, right? I mean, that's what everybody will pressure you and tell you. And they mean well when they say that, by the way. Your friends or your family or coworkers, people will look at it from the outside and think, come on, that other person is sorry, just take them back. Just, even if you don't take them back as a partner, take them back as a friend, still see them, hang out with them, talk with them. And yet it starts to erode your happiness having them back in your life because the toxicity will continue with them. So this is why I wanted to do a happy crappy hour on why we take a narcissist back, or why we want to stay in that toxic environment. And I think the number one reason is because it feels comfortable. It feels like familiar, right? It feels like safe. It's safe there. So when something is familiar to you, you tend to think, or your mind, right, tends to make you feel like this is home. This is comfortable. This is something you've dealt with before. And yet, if it's with a toxic person and their abusiveness, what even your mind will trick you into thinking is that, well, at least you know how to tiptoe on which eggshells at what time of the day. You know the formula here for a general happy, for staying out of the minefield for most of the day or most of the time. And you fool yourself into thinking, well, at least I know how to navigate this minefield. So I'll stay here. So anyway, you guys, this is the topic for today, and I want to know what you guys are thinking about that, and if you've had experiences like that. Hey, Obi-Wan, good to see you. I'm gonna see here. It's not like before, barely. Okay, I'm not sure what that means, John. Oh, you mean the relationship. Obi-Wan says, I stayed in my toxic relationship because that wasn't the person I fell in love with. Soon that nice girl will change. Yeah. Sunny Clouds, good to see you. Good morning. Obi-Wan says, I just wish I was aware of this behavior growing up. Unfortunately, I was raised by a hardcore empath. Yes. And you know what? People mean well. They really do. They think that, just give people chances and keep them in your life and don't kick anybody out of your life. Um, I hate to say it, but if a toxic person latches onto somebody, an empath or good supply, right? They're not going to let go and they're not going to change their ways. And what ends up happening is the empath or the supply continues to enable the toxic person's abusive behavior. And that doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help the empath. It doesn't help you, right? And it certainly doesn't help the narcissist in the long run to ever change, because why would they change if you accept their behavior? And if they know, they can always come back to you over and over and over again. And all they have to do is apologize or say a few sweet things or get their fan club or flying monkeys to convince you, or even your close friends to convince you to take them back, because everybody, is sympathetic and they want to care and they don't want to hurt anybody. Yeah. So it's easy to get caught in that crazy town. And then some of us have convinced ourselves to stay because we're like, well, there's this comfortable feeling I have when I'm around this person. And it's so weird because even if they're a horrible person, what happens is when your eyes look on something that it's used to seeing for a long period of time, your brain registers familiarity. It registers, oh, I know this. I know this face. I know this person. I know whatever this is that's in front of me, or whoever this is that's in front of me. And the instinct may not be run away, this is dangerous. The instinct might be, oh, I'm familiar with this. So familiarity is good, right? It's comfortable. That means there's something comforting about seeing something that's been around for a while, or that you're used to or have been used to. Anyway, yeah, it's just, you got to resist the well-meaning friends who want you to reconnect, want you to take back a toxic person in your life, want you to forgive. And you can say, yeah, you know what? You do forgive. And you don't want to hang on to bitterness and anger and resentment, because that will still imprison you, by the way. But once you've forgiven, it doesn't mean you're obligated to take them back into your life. And that's what I want you guys all to know, is this obligation that you feel, this guilt, this compulsion to take them back into your life is not a good thing. It actually is tricking you into going back to something that's really terrible. And this all started off because I heard someone say, um, jokingly, that they would stay in hell because they know all the street names. And I was just like, whoa, what? It was more profound than it was funny. Or maybe it was about as profound as it was funny, because it kind of is funny, right? That people would sarcastically say, yeah, I'd rather stay in hell just because I know all the street names. But really, do you really want to stay in hell? I don't think so. I don't think so. but we do tend to stay there. So a few more of you guys are hopping on. This is great. Love to see you. John says, mine recently contacted me with, I have been thinking of you a lot lately. Hope you're okay. Yes, right? And that's why, one of the things you have got to do, a strategy, or if you want to call it that, or uh, something that you can put into practice, is you think about, while your mind is clear and while you are fully aware of why you left Crazytown, right? You left Crazytown because this person was terrible. This person treated you badly. This person took advantage of you. This person lied about you. This person cheated on you, stole from you, betrayed you. They treated you like dirt. And you realize, okay, and they fooled you, of course, right? Because you thought they were a real friend, or you thought that they really loved you and you had a future with them. But then you realize, no, they're just using me for my apartment. They're using me because they're lonely. They're using me because they have low self-esteem. You realize this is not healthy for me. So when you're aware of those truths, that's when you decide for yourself. And you have to picture this scenario in your mind. What if they come back to you and say, I'm so sorry, please forgive me, I want to be back in your life again. Can we start over? Or, hey, let's just see where things go from this point on. Or, they'll, and like John was saying, they might say, I've been thinking about you. How are you doing? And you're like, well, you know what? I've already cut you out of my life. I've already escaped this crazy town that had been with you. You crushed my heart. And now you're just, hey, I just want to see how you're doing. No, no, no. If you already went through that scenario in your mind and you decided for yourself, if that should happen, this is going to be my response. You have to decide what your response is going to be. Because if you don't plan your response ahead of time, what you're going to tend to do is what comes naturally. And what comes naturally is we're going to want to go back to what's familiar. We're going to want to go back to what was comfortable because we know it. We're going to want to accept them back because we're kind and we want to forgive and we want to accept. So we let them back into our life. And as we know from so many people over and over again, I keep reading that when people take back their narcissistic ex or their toxic ex-partner, it gets worse. It gets worse every time. So you guys, that's why it's so important to know what your response is going to be and stick to it. So I have a friend who is going through this right now. She was contacted by her toxic friend from many, many years. She had recently, he had finally, I guess, broke the camel's back, right? With the last straw, with his last his last behavior, his last action of just complete disregard of her. It showed her again and again that he doesn't regard her. He just doesn't. He, what comes first is what he feels like doing, what he feels like having in his life, whether or not he made plans with her, whether or not he made promises to her, whether or not he guaranteed, yes, we're going to do this or that. It was always, she never knew if he was ever going to follow through. And once again, he didn't follow through. So she just, it just crushed her. And she realized, you know what? This is how he thinks of me. He doesn't care. He doesn't see me as a whole person. He only sees himself. And then I'm just this satellite that goes around him, that he pulls in once in a while when he's bored or needs companionship, or, nobody else that he thinks is better or more popular, right? A better supply is not in his sight, so he'll pull her back in. So she ended it with him. And recently he contacted her and said, hi, I've been thinking about you, or something like that, and wanting to be friends again. And knowing that they're not going to be the same level of friends, he even said, how about we just at least have connection and we can still, stop, would you accept my friend requests again? And, I can keep following you and we can check in on each other once in a while. And you know what? Had she not prepared ahead of time, had she not thought um, a month or so ago about what her response would be and if she really wanted to end this or not, or is this a temporary end or is this a permanent end, she would have probably taken him back. She probably, and then she has um, friends who are encouraging her to take him back as a friend, because they're being nice. I don't think they have ill will, and I don't think they mean to hurt her, but they just are on the outside thinking, well, come on, you just forgive and then you'll be fine. And you know what? In normal relationships, yes, that would work. In normal relationships, people mess up, people make mistakes, people grow, they mature, you see changes in them. You see them making better choices in their life. You can see that they have created a good life, and now there's right there, you guys, is an example of the kind of person you do want to let back in. You look at them and you see they are doing much better than they had been before. They have a good life at this point. I'm not saying perfect, right? But they are doing well for themselves. They're smart. They're working hard for themselves. They're not heavily in debt. They're not in an addiction. They beat that addiction. They're no longer uptight. They're no longer resentful. They've grown to be this really caring person. You can see the friendships, right? By their friendships, by their work, by their just how they're doing. And if in that moment they ask you to come back into their life, then that makes more sense to me, that they're not just asking you back because they're desperate and they're lonely and they need new supply. They're asking you to join their good life now because they appreciate you. That's what normal relationships are. Normal relationships are those where you invite people into your life not because you need them and need to use them, but because you want them to enjoy life with you. And yes, you can go through hard times together, and those are really good friends, right? You can go through really hard times together, but you also enjoy all the good things, all the blessings in life together. You want to share those, what blessings you have, with your friends. And your friends who have blessings in their life want to share those with you. And that is a normal relationship, you guys. Okay, so in those relationships, yeah, you know what? You make mistakes, you hurt each other's feelings, you forgive, and you take each other back into your lives. But yeah. So you guys, let me see here what you're talking. Obi says that's like throwing bloody meat in the water. Ooh, what is that? That's terrible. Oh, of sharks. In the water with sharks. Okay. Yeah. John says, mine recently contacted me with, I have been thinking of you a lot lately. Hope you're okay. Oh, yes, that's, we were just talking about that when they contact you to see and test the waters and see if you'll take them back. Good morning, C. Thomas. Good to see you here. Obi says, mine knows not to contact me. C. Thomas says, yeah, sometimes you think that person feels so familiar, especially if you know them for a long time. It's hard to let them go, but have to let go for our own sanity, or at least limit the contact. Absolutely correct. C. Thomas, you're right on target there, because I was reading this book, and I'm not sure that I recommend it yet, but I'm reading through it. I'm about maybe almost a third way through, and I'm getting some pretty interesting or good little bits of advice here, but also mixed in with a lot of kind of crazy. So that's why I'm not ready to recommend the book yet. But one of the things this author says is that the familiar, even though it might not be good for you, it might be really bad and toxic for you, and yet it feels somehow safe. And that's the lie we tell ourselves. We think, we're wired for contact. We're wired for relationship. And so when the opportunity for relationship is in front of us, we're wired to take that opportunity. We're wired to accept it and go towards it. So part of that wiring comes from the sense of familiarity, the bonding that you've had, right? That you've established with somebody because of the familiarity, because you have had a history with this person, good or bad. That's the crazy part. Is that even if it's bad, it's a history with that person. So you have to be very careful not to mix those wires, right? You have to straighten those out and recognize, is this a familiarity because of something good in our past, or a familiarity because of something bad in our past? So if it was abuse but it was familiar, some people will stay there because they somehow feel safe, because they know the names of the streets, right? They don't leave hell because they know the names of the street. That's the comment that got me started on this topic today, you guys, in case you're coming in a little late. So, Sunny Clouds, good to see you. Yeah, Obi-Wan says, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. She'll change and go back to being nice. Yeah, and I still have hope that people can change. I want them to change. I wish for them to change. I wish them well. And I hope that their life goes well enough that they would want to change, right? So, but at the same time, I'm willing to not take them back. It's okay. There are enough people in this world that they can start over. You're not the answer to their life. You have to understand that. You are not obligated to save their life. They are obligated to save their own life. And in doing that, they make themselves better, or they heal, or they mature, or they change, right? Truly change. And in that way, they can develop good, healthy relationships. But if they don't change, that's still on them. It's not on you, okay? It's not your responsibility. All right, let me see here. Sunny Cloud says, I stayed because I was raised by a narc father who to this day tries to use me as a doormat. So yeah, the narcs were comfortable and horrible to me. Yeah, I'm so sorry, Sunny Clouds. That's exactly what happens though. You stay because you feel like there's this bond, there's this connection. I feel familiar with you, and in some way, that feeling of loneliness is, or that empty feeling of loneliness gets filled even by toxic people, because you're so focused on the abuse that you don't feel lonely, and yet you do, because even if you're in a room with them, they're right next to you, you don't have to be lonely, and yet you feel like there's nobody there because they're really emotionally not connected to you. The abuse is connected to you, but you're not connected to a person, and you're going to still feel lonely, and you tend to take them and keep them or stay with them because you feel like they fill this void of loneliness. But they really don't. They don't fill it just because they have a body. You can't just fill this void of loneliness with a body. That body, if the intent is toxic and abusive, is going to make that hole or that chasm bigger in your life. That chasm of loneliness is going to just get bigger and bigger until the point where you don't feel like you can even connect with people anymore. You don't know how to connect with people anymore. And on top of that, you can't even recognize good people anymore because you're so shrouded, right? You're so you've covered yourself. You've built up all these barriers to protect yourself from the abuse, that when a good person does come into your life, you don't know how to build a relationship with that person. So you guys, that's why it's really important to keep toxic people out of your life. Once you've decided, you know what, this person is just toxic and they destroy me and they use me, they are not capable. And you can see by their relationships that they're not capable of having healthy relationships. And if that continues and you see that they're still not capable, they're still fake, their focus is still on very materialistic things or very shallow things, you can see that they're not building deep relationships. So for them to say to you, they've changed, they want you back, and they can realize, you know, that they made a mistake. They can realize that they took you for granted and still not change. Just because they realize they took you for granted and that you were probably the best friend they ever had, or the best wife they ever had, or best husband, or best roommate, or, you know, they ever had or ever will have, just because they recognize that doesn't mean they've changed. It just means they recognize it. So you guys, we've hit on several great points. I didn't really take notes and put them in an outline format for you today, but let me see if I can remember some of them as we go, so that those who are coming on now are caught up. We're talking about, you know, when you don't want to leave hell because you know the names of the streets. It's that familiarity. It creates a bond, whether you're familiar with abuse or familiar with good behavior or a good relationship. You will still feel familiar. And that familiarity tricks your mind into thinking this is safe. Because, you know, when you're familiar, you feel like, okay, I know what to do here. I know how to navigate this, even though it's dangerous, or even though it's abusive, even though I know this person can explode at any moment. I know kind of how to handle this person. So that familiarity tricks you into thinking you're in control of your safety when you're around a toxic person, which really you're not, other than being able to leave. If you're able to leave and walk out of there when they're being abusive, that's within your own control. But making them stop abusing you, making them stop yelling at you or hitting you or cheating on you or betraying you or smearing you, you can't do that. That has to come from growth from within them. So when they come to you and they ask you, hey, I want to be a part of your life again. I'm so sorry. I totally took you for granted. Now I see. And you're going to feel tempted to take them back because you're a good person, you know, because you want to forgive people, because you can't see, you think shutting people out of your life is mean. And it's not mean, by the way, you guys. It's a consequence to their behavior. If you shut them out because of their behavior, that's a consequence they have to suffer, not a consequence you have to suffer, like keeping them, that is, right? You don't have to suffer keeping them. They have to suffer the consequences of their behavior. Their behavior prompts you to cut them out. But they may come back to you, right, in a couple of months and then tell you, I'm so sorry, and come up with this beautiful apology, and you want to take them back. So to prevent take your weakness there, in that moment of weakness, to making a bad choice, to prevent yourself from making a bad choice, what you have to do is prepare yourself before that moment happens, right? So you have to decide at the moment when you had ended the relationship, maybe not in that moment, but within a week or 2 or 3 after that, really hash through your emotions, really hash through the reality, and face the truth about your relationship. And when the truth is in front of you, how horrible it really was, that you idealized this person, that you forgave them for things that you shouldn't have, that you glossed over all of their bad behavior and made excuses for them. Once you realize the truth of all of that and why you ended the relationship, sit down and imagine, what would you do if they came back to you and asked to be back in your life? And that's when you have to have a plan. And then in that moment of clarity, that's when you know, no, I'm not going to, why would I take this person back? There's no way I would take this abuse back. No way I would, put myself back into danger. No way I'm going to listen to their lies anymore, because I know they lie. I know they lie about changing, and then I had taken them back a few times before, and it just never changed. And just because they come to me now and say, oh, this time is different, it's not going to be. So that's what you do. You make a decision while your mind is clear and while the truth is in front of you, what you're going to do if they come to you. So then a few months later, it could even be a few years later, they come back and they're going to say, I'm so sorry. You were the best thing that ever happened to me. Oh my gosh. So I watched a show, and it played out really well. And it's in one of my videos. I think it's in one of the Don't Take the Narc Back. Listen to Your Gut is one of them. And then the other one was Don't take the narc back. Oh, there were two videos I did on this. One was listen to your gut, and the other one is look at the patterns. Okay, and I'll post that on here in the, there's like a little circle I'm going to post that comes up on the right part of your screen. It's an I for information, I guess. I'm not sure, but I'll post that video, those videos there for you guys to click on later after the live stream. Yeah, so in there, what I talk about is this, it's a reality TV show, and I know I don't want to quote the reality TV shows, but this one I thought was done pretty well. It was in Australia, and it followed these four couples, and it was called Taking the Ex Back, something like that. So, but there was this one particular couple I watched, and when you watch it, you'll see that the guy, after 6 years, they were together, I think, for 6 years, and all through the 6 years, he just did not appreciate the girl at all, at all. She did everything for him. She was like a wife to him. She cooked, she cleaned, she took care of him, she loved him, she fed his ego, she stroked his ego, right? She was just always available for him at any time. At a drop of a hat, she'd be there. Well, he took complete advantage of her. He just didn't appreciate her. He used her. They broke up continually, constantly through those 6 years. Well, they broke up, and then 6 years later, he comes back and he says that he realizes that the way he treated her was so bad, and he was so ashamed of it, and he apologized, and it looked so sincere, and it probably was sincere, his apology. But the bottom line through their time together was that she noticed he didn't really change. Like, his lifestyle didn't change. His behaviors didn't change. Now, he paid more attention to her. He seemed, oh yeah, he saw her 6 years later, and he's like, wow, she's gorgeous. How did I not see this before? What a catch she was. And okay, that's very, like I said earlier, shallow, right? This is how you know whether these people have changed or not. What's important to them are the shallow things. And if that's still true, then they haven't really changed. Even if they come back to you and they tell you all the things they did wrong, and they tell you that they took you for granted, now they see, now they know they didn't appreciate you the way they should have. Just because they recognize that doesn't mean they've actually changed their life. They haven't changed their lifestyle. They haven't changed their behavior in their life. They're still massively in debt. They're still addicted to substances. They're still going to, strip clubs or whatever, and they need to have the porn, and they need to have this extra stuff on the side, right? Besides the relationship, because no one relationship is enough for them. So you can see they haven't really changed. And if you go back into that, which is what this girl was figuring out in this show I'm telling you about, right? She was really tempted because she loved the guy. There's this familiarity with them. They still laugh together. He still made her feel good when she was around him. Yeah, I would recommend watching it. And you can kind of see, now that you know about narcissism, now that you know a bit about toxic relationships and what to look for when you watch these shows, you're like, whoa, okay, or these episodes, right, on that show, you'll start to see things pop out at you. And you see, not that I'm saying these people are horrible, bad, evil people or anything like that, because some toxic people are not actually evil. They just are so self-centered. They can't be good for anybody else. They haven't learned how to stop being self-centered. So, and when it comes to narcissism or narcissists, true NPDs, right? They may never change because there's this short in their wiring that's just always there. And I don't know that they can be healed. And there are psychologists out there who say there's no cure to this. They can change their behavior a bit, but at their core, they're still extremely self-centered. They have no empathy, and they will take advantage of people because that's just the way they're wired. So when that's the case, you don't want to feel obligated to take the person back. You're not. And I'm here to tell you that you're not obligated. And don't, you may feel guilty, but tell yourself, this is not my responsibility. This is not my consequence. It's their actions, so their consequence, not my consequence. Your actions were to try to make the relationship work. Your actions were to try to heal. Your actions were to try to forgive and move on. But their actions prevented this. So you have to see that you're not responsible then for their actions. All right, you guys, I think I'm pretty caught up with all of that now, right? You guys are all caught up with that. Let me check on some of these other comments here. Let me see how far back I need to go. Angel, good to see you. I'm so glad you're here. Oh, I got to go back a bit. I'm so sorry, you guys. I went for a while there. Sunny, okay. Okay, C. Thomas says, especially if it's family in my mind. I'm saying it's my sister, so I can't but realize she's very toxic and draining. Yes, exactly. It's so true too, because we feel obligated, right? Oh, we're related. I'm obligated. And, to some extent, that's okay because, yeah, family is a tie that you don't have with somebody else. So you have to limit it, right? You can't be just free reign. They can have free reign in your life and do whatever they want or have as much contact as they want. No, you have to limit it. You have to set up boundaries. You have to say, when they start behaving in this way, whatever way it is, right? When they start getting drunk, for instance, right? They're a mean drunk. When you're hanging out with them and having dinner or whatever, some family get together, when you see that one toxic person drinking, having their fifth beer, you might think, okay, that's it for me. I'm out of here before the abuse begins. Or you stay on the other side of the room and you avoid them like heck, right? You limit your contact with them and you don't allow them contact with you in order to abuse you, right? So you set up those boundaries, and when you feel you don't want to break the bond because you are family, that's entirely up to you. I know some people who have done that, and there might be some relationships where there's really nothing but toxicity, so there's just no reason at all to hold on to it. There's none. So that's a decision you make for yourself, and I'm not going to tell you what you feel that you should do. That'll be up to you. If you feel it's worth it to keep it because you don't want to make family gatherings uncomfortable, so you can limit contact, that's great. Or if you know that you love your nieces or nephews from your sister and you want to stay in their life, so you keep that contact with your sister limited so that you can still have a relationship with the others, right, who are connected through her. Yeah. So if it's worth it for you, then yeah, just do it carefully, do it smart, wisely. Just be smart. Okay, you guys, let me see. Angel says, just wait till you feel numb and you feel nothing. Yeah, here's a good thing I want to tell you guys too. Is once you cut a narcissist out of your life, you start living. Oh my gosh, yeah. It's like you can smell the roses again, and the sun is somehow brighter, and the air feels, crisper, or just warmer, or wherever you are. I don't know, whatever feels good. It's like life suddenly becomes brighter, and you start including people in your life, or good people start coming into your life, and you start building a rather pretty good life, a very happy, comfortable, yet it might feel sometimes not as full, right? Because you're still building your life, you're still building relationships, but you're moving on, you're opening new doors, you're on a new path. And then this person comes back into your life and tries to get you off of that path of healing, off of the path of prosperity, or a path of positivity, off the path of success. in your life. Successful relationships, successful career, successful life, you know? When they come back into your life and they're tempting you back into a life of addiction, back into a life of pain, back into a life of drugs, or back into a life of irresponsibility, you know, oh, don't go into work, it doesn't matter. And they guilt you into doing negative things, right? For yourself, to yourself. Why would you want that, right? Why would you let this person do that to you again? Just don't. You have to be smart. You have to stop it before it starts happening. And just because they're familiar, just because, you know, you might feel obligated or guilted, you have to resist that lie that you're obligated. Anyway, okay, you guys, let me see here. Obi says they come back to you, sleep with them, then kick them to the curb the next day. Oh no. See, I wouldn't agree with that, but I know you talked about this before, Obi. Obi-Wan, this brings these creatures much supply. Yeah, you know what? When you do give in to them, it does give them a lot of supply. And yeah, but it's true, you know, if you have to shut them out, and it will happen. And if you did end up sleeping with them, and if you did end up going back into a relationship with them, and then you see, oh my gosh, this is still as toxic as it always was, it's okay for you to end it. It's okay to do that and say, you know what, this just isn't working. This just isn't working, because you're seeing that they are not different. C. Thomas says, my ex-narc, I forgave him, and even when he tries to come back, it's tempting to start over because we have a long history. But I think about what I've been through and say, no, no way, I'll stay away. Exactly. If you do have this long history, that's the hard part, is you think it's familiar. It could, you know, you still hope that maybe he's changed enough. So I would recommend to you that show. I can't remember if it was on YouTube or Netflix or something like that. It was called Taking Back the Ex. I think that's what it was called. But I will list the videos that I did about it, because in there I do, I think I mention, or I type out in the description which show it really was. It's from Australia, and watching these couples, it helps you see your own situation. And that's why I like to watch these. Just that particular show, I don't watch a bunch and talk about a bunch of different reality shows, because a lot of them are manipulated, right? The producers encourage the participants or whoever's on the show to behave a certain way, to say certain things or whatever. So they manipulate the whole situation. This one seems to be less manipulated, so it seemed like, wow, you can see how you might fall for what this girl was going through, how you might have already gone through the same type of thing she's going through right there on screen. And once you see that, you can identify for yourself. You become more aware for yourself the next time you fall into that situation, and the next time an ex comes back to you and starts trying to seduce you back into a relationship with them, you know. Oh, it's so tempting, and I can understand that. I so understand that. And then someone here said that, you know, you're going to feel numb if you leave it long enough, and at some point through your healing, you're just going to feel numb to it. You're not going to have feelings towards that person anymore. And I agree with that, you know. There are certain arcs in my life where I've already decided that if I ever hear from them again, I know what my answer will be. I mean, I'll try to be as kind as I can about it, you know, but let them know, I'm sorry, you know, I don't really think that it's wise to continue a relationship because what we had was very toxic. Or you can say, you don't even really have to say anything. That depends on the narcissist. Like if they're the kind of person that just are so persistent, they won't let go, you just block them. Yeah, you're done. You just block them. But if it's someone that can take a no, can take no for an answer, which I kind of hesitant. I'm hesitant to believe that a narcissist can take that. But if you think you can just say, no, I'm not going to go back to you, and I wish you a good life, goodbye, you know, whatever it is you need to say to end it, and just kind of, this is weird, but wrap it in a blessing, which is weird. I don't know. I don't want to sound all weird and new agey to you guys, But what I mean by that is, don't send them away with resentment in your heart. Don't send them away with anger and pain um, and just violence, I guess, right, in your mind towards them, because then you're going to still stay connected to them. It's that weird bond. It could be you could be bonded to a person through good things, but also through bad things. So a bad bond just as strong, because, or very strong, I don't know about just as strong, but it can be very strong and will keep you connected to an abuser. So break even that negativity between you and them and wish them well. Just, you know what? I hope things go well for you, because you're moving on. You're going to have a great life. You are going to do well for yourself. So just wish them well, disconnect, and go on your own path. Yeah, so much, so much. Let me see. Obi says it's not the supply they're seeking, but it's supply. Yeah, anything that you give them, whether it's positive or negative, it's still supply to them. So that's another reason not to continually stay in contact with them, because it could still be all negative. And here you are welcoming all that negativity back into your life, all that toxicity back into your life. C. Thomas says, yes, Obi, you're right. That's the supply they need. Sunny Cloud says, staying single and free. Last narc got new supply, and I feel bad for her now, but enjoying not being stalked or hoovered. Yes. Oh my gosh, you guys, that's another thing I've thought of too, is when people don't let go of the narcissist, because it's like a curse. It's so weird, but you don't want to let go because you feel bonded to this person. And for some reason, you can't break that bond, or that curse. I want to call it that. And some people have called it a gypsy curse, which means that the curse doesn't go away on its own. It has to be taken by somebody else, the new supply, for instance. So sad and so cringy, but true. When a new supply comes into their life, at first you might be jealous, and you might be angry, and you might be resentful, and you might feel rejected, even deeper rejection, because they're taking on somebody new. But it's actually a blessing, because they take on the curse. They take the bond that was connecting you to the narcissist, because now the narcissist is going to be focused on the new supply. They're going to put all of their energy towards the new supply and not stalk you anymore, just like, is it Sunny? Yeah, just like Sunny is saying here. And, this, I've been, I'm part of this women's group, and there was this discussion going on amongst some of, actually one of the single women who's in her 30s. She's, I think, mid 30s. And she was being very vulnerable and saying, how do I attract the right kind of man in my life? And I know that I want to be married someday and have children. And so other women were coming on, and what they were saying, the women who were giving her advice, who had been just where she is right now, were telling her, and I think this is smart, were telling her of their own experience, where they were when after they ended a marriage or a relationship or whatever it was, they felt really lonely, they felt really low and all that, but then they started working on themselves. They started focusing on their faith, they started focusing on their career, they started focusing on their kids, and they stopped focusing on trying to date. They stopped focusing on trying to find a mate, right? And I would recommend this to you guys too. Stop, and I kind of sense that you guys are all kind of there right now. You stop trying to find that person. You work on yourself. And once you work on yourself, it's so weird, but time after time after time, this in this group of women, I think 4 of them came out and said, oh my gosh, at the point when I got to the point where I was just working on myself, and I was comfortable with that, I was they accepted that for themselves, that this is where I am right now, and I'm just going to work on this part of me. That's when their husband came to them. That's when they somehow met the man they were meant to marry, even though at that point they thought, the man I want to marry would not want the woman that I am, would not want the kind of person that I am. So they worked on that. They worked on who they were. They worked on, just being more confident. They worked on their hobbies, having a passion that's outside of that keeps them from being a dependent, right, on somebody else. Uh, so once you're able to do that and stand on your own, it's interesting how the right person that attracts the right person into your life. And when you're not focused on, oh, I need to be married, I have to have a partner, I have to have a spouse. When you're not focused on that, it makes it more, I don't know how to, it just makes it it makes you more attractive to other people. And they can see that you're a whole person with or without another person in your life. And that just makes you so much more attractive. Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you. It's really cool. It's good to, read all those comments. And it's staying single is a great thing. Work on yourself. Use this time as a blessing, because you don't have to answer to somebody else. You don't have to check with somebody else to see what movie that they want to watch. You don't have to check with them, what do they feel like eating tonight. You don't have to check with them, is it okay to buy this car? You do what you want to do, right? So being single is also a blessing. So you guys, George Dean, good to see you. I'm glad you're here. Jihad, good to see you too. Yeah, Sunny says lonely in and lonely out. That's the way it is with abusive people, with toxic people. You can't feel fulfilled when you're with them. You just don't. So it's better to be lonely outside of them, away from them, because at this point now you can fill that area, that place in your life with good people. But as long as an abusive person is taking up that spot in your life, you tend to keep good people out. C. Thomas says, it's hard to trust everyone else you meet. All I think about is they're also narcs or just not trustworthy, but something to discern. Yeah. You learn to discern these things. I recommended in my last Happy Crappy Hour the book Safe People, and I'll recommend it again here for you guys. It's when you can't trust your own discernment, because the narcissist has so destroyed your ability to discern, right? What do you do with that? There's another book I'm going to start, and I haven't gotten it yet because it's a workbook. It goes along with the boundaries books. It's called Beyond Boundaries. And in that workbook, I think it's supposed to talk about how to build trust again. So I want to see what comes out of that. And I want to talk to you, teach you guys what I'm learning about that. So hopefully that will be coming up in the next couple of months here. I got to look into getting that workbook. And if you guys want to do that, that'd be great on your own, and let me know what you got out of that. Gamer Christina says, love your words mixed in with your tone of voice. Thank you so much for what you do. Thank you. I appreciate that. That just keeps me going, really. If I know that this is helping you guys, and if I know that this creates for you a forum where you can connect with each other, I'll just keep doing it. Yeah. C. Thomas says, I think they need us more than we do. Gotta be strong. They absolutely need you more than you need them. Absolutely true. C. Thomas says, yes, exactly. They don't change often. They have to want to change and get help. Narcs just keep mimicking your behavior to make you believe they change until you take them back. It shows. Yep. Gamer Christina says, a great show that got me in charge of my own life was Revenge Body with Khloe Kardashian. Oh my gosh, I think I saw something come up in my feed, YouTube feed about that. Okay. Yeah, Revenge Body. That's what I kind of thought too, is, it must be that she got herself to the point where her ex would regret letting her go, right? Absolutely. And I think that goes not just with your body, but everything else. They're going to regret letting you go. And that's when why it's so important to know what you're going to say when they come back into your life and say, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know then what I had. And I see now that I took you for granted and I didn't appreciate you. So I appreciate you now. So say Khloe Kardashian, I don't know, I'm onto this comment now, but say her ex comes back into her life and says all of that to her, no, you didn't appreciate me then, and now you only appreciate me or want me for the shallow things, right? But I can see how it also makes you feel stronger by knowing that you build up your self-esteem. Really, you build up your own view of yourself. You feel beautiful again, or you feel strong again, or man, you feel handsome again. You know you're a catch. That feels good. Yeah. So work on yourself and know that you're a catch. And it's kind of a side benefit that the ex then regrets letting you go. It really is. It's just another boost to your self-esteem. And you know that, by the way, you know that whether they will admit it or not, they do regret letting you go. But then they move on and then they forget and they move, because narcissists do not keep, they just don't have that deep bond for long-term relationships. They could have a long-term relationship as in number of years, but the bond just isn't there for them. Even if they've been married for 20 years, that bond just isn't there. And holographic, greetings from the land of pseudo-organic portals. Hey there, holographic, good to see you. Says she changed to what and why would they? They belong to the demon network. You don't just leave and join the angels. You forfeited your soul and free will. Yeah, I mean, I think there's something else that goes on psychologically in their head too that prevents them from changing. Obi-Wan says, "What's up, Jihad?" Oh yeah, sorry, you guys are talking to each other. I will let that go. Yeah, holographic says, "Narcs get new supply, new vending machines." Yeah. Holographic says they need money, your soul. Number one, money, and number two, your soul. Once they realize this, they are never approached by vampires again. I don't understand that, but okay. Oh, excuse me. All right, C. Thomas says, you're right, no changes. Oh my gosh, yeah, they do need money. They need sustenance, right? They need to be able to support their lifestyle. So you have to be very careful of that as well. All right, you guys, let me see. I am Obi-Wan says, I think I'm pretty much healed. I wanted revenge legally before viewing these videos, but now I just don't care. Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad. You know what? That's the best. When that numbness or the don't care what goes on with them, you let them go. And once you let them go, you're going to be able to start. And it may seem really slow and maybe painfully slow, how your life will start filling though. It will start filling up again with good things. And just wait, because you know what? I woke up today and I was so surprised. This is my happy, by the way, for happy crappy hour. Finally getting to my happy. Is that I don't know if you heard this saying before, but my dance card is full, which means there was a time, I think it was back in World War II, or maybe World War I, the troops would come in and dance with single women, right, who were willing to dance with them because just to encourage them when they come to port, and they have these dance halls. So the women would have cards, punch cards, right, and the soldiers would have to check their card or pay them a dime. I'm not sure how that works. So and once their dance card was full, maybe there were only 20 songs for the night or 10 songs for the night. And once those 10 songs, their dance card gets filled up, with 10 people to dance with, they're done. And that's what I mean by my dance card is full. I woke up this morning and it took me, I guess, almost a year and a half, almost 2 years now. That actually it has been 2 years where I've made some major changes in my life, let go of a major narcissist, and I talked about her for a while in some of my videos. Once I let go of friendships that I thought I needed, I felt lonely. I got to tell you, yeah, it was lonely. And it seemed, I had to stop myself from imagining that she was having a great life and having all these wonderful friends that I wasn't having. It just doesn't help. So I had to focus on me. And a lot of the advice I give to you guys is stuff that I followed, that I did for myself. And now I woke up this morning and I realized, oh my gosh, almost every day of my life um, I have things going on. I have people that I can connect with, and they are good people. That's the amazing thing. And you guys, I have you guys every Thursday, which is, I can't tell you, just so wonderful. I feel like my life is filling up, which is, that's what I want for you. I want you to know that you're not alone. And even when you're feeling alone, you know you have this community. You know, at least every Thursday, you have got this community. You are not alone, first of all. Second, you're going to start filling in other pockets of your life, from other sources. Your next door neighbors, you might start to talk to them. You might start, create new relationships at work. You might strike up a relationship from some club that you want to join. Oh, I started bicycling recently too, you guys. So that was really cool. I met a bunch of people through that. So yeah, you start to open up. You start to feel better. You get healthy minded. You get healthy bodied. I mean, yeah, your dance card starts to fill up. It's people who want to be in whatever you're willing to give them, right? Fill up that place. And yeah, not to scare off the introverts out there, by the way, because I'm also an introvert. I need my time alone. I don't want every day of my life to be full of people. I need my quiet moments to reflect and read and do things for myself and go on walks or meditate or do yoga or, so I need that. You guys, Holographic says, build trust. Oh my goodness, never. I divorced 7 narcos, 7. 2 were not, but their entourage was like a coven. I do not trust. Why would I? Yeah. Well, Holographic, I don't know. If you're happy where you are right now, I understand that. I totally understand that. So I'm not going to, I'm not going to argue that at all. I think that you are where you need to be and you're okay with it. That's good. But as for myself, I know that I have built up trust. And I'm not talking about 100% the way I trusted a narc and let them hurt me. And people will show that too. Once you learn how to identify safe people, once you learn how to be with safe people and build and become a safe person yourself, that, I know you were mentioning that book, Safe People, but you know what that book did for me is it showed me where I was not a safe person. It showed me that there were some changes I needed to make for myself or about myself that to make myself a safe person for other people. And yeah, so in doing that, once I became more of a safe person, I realized more and more people were coming to me. More and more people were attracted towards me. So that was kind of interesting. I thought this is good because I want to be a safe place for people. I want to I want them to know I would never share their secrets and that I would never hurt them. And I would, whether I offend them or not, I don't know. I mean, I certainly don't try to, but you can't live a perfect life and it's not a perfect life, by the way, where you live where nobody's ever offended by you because everybody has their different quirks and whatever. It's okay. So I guess my point is trusting again for me has been a journey, and it's been a very rewarding journey. And I have people that in my life now that I do appreciate, and I really am building strong relationships now that I didn't really have before. And I'm glad to say that the relationships I did have before, they just weren't as deep as they are now. So reading Safe People helped me to recognize, oh, those relationships I can deepen. Those relationships that I have had for a while, but we just never got to that point where, more growth. Now we have that. So just wanted to share that with you. But I understand. I completely understand where you are. Jihad says, holographic, my ex used to do that to me too with religious videos about not abusing or something like that. I was sitting there confused. Yeah, because they project. They do. Toxic people project onto you what they do to you. The problem there is that sometimes we do take on their habits. We do take on their characteristics, whether we realize it or not. And that's why some of these books, it helps you, or at least for me, it helped me to see, oh my gosh, I took on that habit or I took on that characteristic. And I certainly, that's not me, but it became, what is it, habitual, I guess, right? It just became kind of automatic because that's what we did in our relationship. So you don't want to carry those traits onto your new relationships. You don't want to carry on the bad traits that you picked up from the narcissist into your new, healthier relationships, right? Yeah. Oh, holograph. I'm not going to read that, but oh my goodness, you're right. If you guys want to read it yourselves about the kind of videos these horrible people, yeah. Jihad says, in my case, doing everything legally was the best thing because now she backed off after I took her to court and exposed her and all the money she stole from me. She used it on lawyers. Wow. Jihad, that's great that you were able to do that, just handling it legally without pouring emotion into it, right? I mean, even though you're going to feel emotion, you don't want to fight with emotion. Yeah. Obi says, I couldn't sleep for nights, and she slept like a baby after seeing those videos. Oh, man. That's horrible. That's horrible. Oh, yeah, you guys are talking about some of these really awful videos. But yeah, you guys, I'm so proud of you. I'm so glad that you're so, yeah, that you're growing, that you see where you can be. I'm so glad that you're starting to let go, you're healing. It's a huge work. It really is. And I know that you had to put in a lot of that work. So I'm so proud. So proud. Well, you guys, I'm going to let you wrap up. Okay, let me see. Holographic says, and I'm going to read a few more of these comments while you guys wrap up with each other. Holographic says, I have 2 friends that keep on about how they are a narc victim, yet keep going back for more abuse. Oh no. They keep going back, right? I block them. I don't need to be dragged into someone else's mess now that I got out of mine. Yes, that's true too. People who, and that's why I say sometimes toxic people themselves are not evil, especially the ones who are going back for more and more abuse. They become toxic because they just drain you. Yes, I totally understand that. And those people, yeah, you have to cut them out because right now they're not healthy. They're not healthy for you, and they're not healthy for themselves, and you don't want to enable it. And these people, they actually, even though they may be victims of narcissistic abuse, they can become draining to other people around them because they just won't let go, right? They just won't let go. Oh, Jihad says, I recently noticed that my ex smashed my surfboard with a hammer. Just got it fixed and picking it up Sunday, and I'm going surfing. Wow, that's so cool. I love the water. Love, love, love the water. I did not go surfing, but I went bodyboarding. When was that? A couple of weeks ago. It's so awesome. I really enjoyed it. See, Thomas says, holographic, it will take them some time. It's the trauma phase they're going through. Yep. Yep. The friends who are still attached to their narcissists and going back for more and more abuse. I mean, that's part of what this topic was about today, right? Why we stay in Crazytown, because we know the names of the streets. They're familiar with it. They feel almost even safe there. Yeah, because of the familiarity. And that's, just be careful of that. Familiarity will fool you into thinking this is safe. And you know in your mind that it's not. So you have to stay focused on the truth. You have to stay focused on reality. Holographic says, my 12-year-old even said to me, don't ever date again. You never know when they switch up. Wow. Yeah. So it's really, you have to be really careful. Careful definitely, but wise, wise. And I do wish you all the luck in your 12-year-old as well, you know, that they can have a good life. You can have a good life as well, and you probably do, right? But this life can also be filled with good people. There are good people out there. We just need to find each other, right? Yeah. Obi says she sounds like a real loser chick. Mine wanted to take everything. I told what you think you need to do. Just get out of my life. Yeah. Holographic says, see, Thomas, been there, but I think some people love the narc drama. They become addicts. I kind of think so too. And they may be covert narcissists themselves, because covert narcissists are addicted to all that drama and they remain the victim. Oh my gosh, the covert narcissist is so crazy. So crazy. Okay, you guys. Jihad says, yeah, she destroyed a lot of my stuff, which all that can be replaced. I'm just glad she finally left. Yes, I am so glad for you guys too. Well, you guys, it is a bit after now. Oh, what do I have? Oh, okay. Oh, and Obi says familiarity made me not take my narc back. Yes, that's great, because you recognize that it was abusive. You recognize that the familiarity was a negative familiarity. And we have those too. Those are kind of triggers that we get, right? There's some, yeah, that's another story. That's another topic for another happy crappy hour. Well, you guys, I so appreciate you coming on, and I wish you all so much healing and joy as you move forward, and success in your life. I really do. I wish that you will continue to grow and find that there are good people out there, including this group here, right? You found some good people right here. So continue on with the relationship we have here. I'm going to keep doing these live streams so you can continue to see each other and talk to one another. Blessings to all of you. I wish you all so much love.